अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. Sarvebhyo namaः. Thank you for joining today. We are now in the last part of the 17th chapter of Bhagavad-gita. We have done 19 shlokas so far. Today we are doing the last 9 shlokas, shloka number 20 to shloka number 28. We'll do a quick recap of what we learned in the first 19 shlokas and then we'll move forward. The 17th chapter is about Shraddha. In the 16th chapter, we learned about Sampat, Daivi Sampat and Asuri Sampat. Closely related concept is Shraddha. And in the 17th chapter, we touch upon Shastriya Shraddha and Laukiki Shraddha. Shastriya Shraddha is that Shraddha which is based on the Shastra. Shraddha means conviction, paradigm, lens, the world view through which we look at this world. Shastriya Shraddha means Shraddha that is based on the statements of the Shastra. Shastra refers to the Veda, basically, and all the texts which build on the Veda. For example, the Mahabharata, Ramayana, the Puranas, everything, and all the Smritis, the different Vyakhyas written by the great Acharyas. All of that, the huge ocean, is called Shastra. So Shraddha, which is based on the statements of the Shastra about what is correct, what is wrong, how to look at this world, what is the reality in which we live, what if we do will lead to something good, what if we do will not lead to something good, will actually harm us, harm others, everything based on the Shastra. That worldview is called Shastriya Shraddha. Laukiki Shraddha is not based on the statement of the Shastra. It comes from one's svabha. So we'll quickly understand what svabha means. Svabha is our deep inner nature, which is actually the accumulation of our samskaras. The samskaras, subtle impressions formed over lifetimes of experience in different species of life. Our good and bad experiences create samskaras in us. Those samskaras lead to vasanas or tendencies. So different people we see have different types of tendencies, preferences, likings, dislikes. And that together constitutes their svabha, their deep inner nature, which in turn fuels their shraddha. Shraddha is based on svabha. So this shraddha, which is based on svabha, not on shastra, is called laukiki shraddha. And this laukiki shraddha, because it is based on svabha, it is of 3 types: sāttviki, rājasi, and tāmasi. It's under the influence of the 3 gunas of prakriti. Even a person who is following Shastriya Shraddha is also under the influence of the 3 gunas of Prakriti, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. But such a person who is basing their Shraddha on Shastra, even though the 3 gunas are acting on them, they abide by whatever Shastra says, regardless of whether it intuitively appears correct or not. If Shastra says something is correct, they do it. If Shastra says something is wrong, they will not do it. They will not go by what their svabha tells them to do. But those with laukiki shraddha will just go by what their svabha says. So we learned about different types of human engagements which are influenced by the laukiki shraddha. Ahara, that is food that we eat. Then we heard about yajna, worship, and then tapas, austerity that we do. So in the 17th chapter, first Sri Bhagavan talks about food, and we in the last session we studied this. We saw this table, different types of food, sāttviki, rājasi, tāmasi, and we also saw the second table. Then in the last session, we talked about yajna, worship, different types of worship, sāttviki, rājasi, tāmasi, and how that is laukiki shraddha. Now, here you can see for sāttviki shraddha, there is an overlap with the statements of the Shastra. Those who have Shastriya shraddha and those who have sāttviki shraddha, which is laukiki, which comes from svabha, they are aligned to each other. Those with swabhavik sāttviki shraddha will actually want to do what people who follow the Shastra want to do, because the sattva guna in them naturally attracts them towards that. It makes the people who are following the Shastra attractive to them. So what they do and what they would want to do, their likings and dislikes, the preferences, would go by the people who are following the Shastra. Even though they themselves may not have faith in Shastra, they may not know what Shastra is, so they may not have directly conviction in it, but they are inclined to follow what it says. Those with Rajasi and Tamasi Shraddha, they are different. You can see that. Then we also talked about tapas, and similarly, we have sāttviki tapas of three types: bodily tapas, speech-related tapas, and mind-related sharira or shariram tapas, vangmayam tapas, and manasam tapas. Then we also talked about rajasi and tamasi tapas. So we did all this until the end of the last session. In today's session, we first talk about the three types of dana that is influenced by the three gunas of Prakriti. So Sattvikam Danam or Sattvika Dan, Rājasa Dan, and Tamasa Dan. So we'll do three shlokas there. And then in the last six shlokas after that, Sri Bhagavan talks about how he is the source of Sattviki Shraddha. He is the source of everything. And Shastra actually is based on him. He is the Adhar for that. And Sattviki Shraddha flows from him. And he concludes by saying that Shraddha, which is of the other types, is not beneficial. Therefore, develop Shastriya Shraddha. Okay, so we will quickly go through those shlokas now. First, the three types of dana. This is Sāttvika dana. Dātavyam iti yaddanam dīyate nupakārine deshe kāle cha patre cha taddanam sattvikam smritam. Dātavyam iti yaddanam. Dana which ought to be given. There is a prescription, there is a duty that one has to give dan. Anybody or everybody have to give dan in their life at different times in the year, after doing a puja, or when there is a special occasion, if there is a child born in the family. So many different occasions, dan is prescribed as an activity compulsorily, which is a part of all these other activities. So datavyam, it has to be given, so we will give it, and given happily. Diyate anupakarine. Anupakarine means upakari. Upakar means what? One who gives something to us, one who helps us. So anupakar means one who does not help us or one who does not give us something in return. So anupakarine means one who does not reciprocate. Here it means giving dan without thinking that this person will reciprocate with me because I'm giving him dan today. Okay. Actually, this thinking is present predominantly in society when we give gifts. So socially, we see gifting is a big practice, right? We give gifts to people on their birthdays, during their marriage, or during special events, or sometimes just like that. When we visit them, we just give a gift. Okay, sometimes we just remember somebody after a long time and say, okay, I feel like giving him a gift. Now, very often, gifting is accompanied by the thinking that, today I will gift him, but in the long run, this person will give me back something. There is a subtle thinking, even if it's not consciously decided like that, as in a business. In a business, we may consciously and directly ask for it, ask for the reciprocation. But otherwise, in normal social gifting, we may not consciously ask for it, but in a subtle way, in our thinking, it's there that, okay, now that I'm gifting that person, I'm keeping a good relationship with that person will do something in return for me when I require it, when I need it. When I need it, I can go to that person for help. Now here, Sāttvika Dan that's spoken about is completely free of that kind of thinking. There's absolutely no thinking that tomorrow that person will do something for me when I need it. No. That person may or may not do something, but I am giving today with great happiness because it's my duty to give Dan. And I give it with all my heart. Okay? That is called diyate anupakarine, without any expectation, even a slight, subtle expectation that this person will give anything. That seva is done, that dan is given, and then you completely forget about it. There is no more. Tomorrow, on some other occasion, you may go to that person for something. That person may not help, and you will not think, oh, I gave him a dan, but look at this fellow. He's not giving me something in return. How wicked is this guy? I did so much for him. I gifted him. I did this. I did this. No. That thinking is not sattvic thinking. That is rajasic thinking. So in sattvic thinking, we give and then it's over. That work is over with that. Later on, if that person gives or doesn't give, that's a different thing altogether. Okay? So that's the meaning of diyate anupakarine. Okay, then deshe kale cha patre cha. So that is considering the appropriate time. Desham means place. Considering the appropriate place. Kale. the appropriate time, and patre. Patra means the person who is recipient, the person who is receiving our dhan. So keeping in consideration, given to a person who is qualified to receive it. Okay, dhan is given to a person, for example, a learned brahmana, a brahmana who is genuine, who does his duties as a brahmana, who is well studied, who has studied the shastra well, who guides others, who lives a very simple life, who follows all the principles that a brahmana is supposed to follow. Such a brahmana is a qualified brahmana to receive this. Similarly, people of the other varnas who are dvijas, like kshatriyas, vaishyas, who are qualified and who do their duties sincerely, such people become eligible to receive dhan on certain occasions. Appropriately, dhan is given to them. And so, given to a qualified person, not just to somebody, okay, not just something, for example, somebody is begging on the streets. And of course, we should help beggars. That's a different thing. Helping beggars is a completely, that's not called dhan. There we may do out of daya, kindness. Okay, dhan here means given to a person who is eligible to receive dhan, a specific person. Similarly, at an appropriate time, certain times in the day, certain times in the year, certain occasions, given on those occasions, not just randomly, not just whimsically, an appropriate place, in a clean place, in a temple, in a yajna where a yajna is done, okay, in a proper, appropriate place, dhan is given. So such dhan is called sāttvikam or sāttvika dhan. So dātavyam iti yaddanam diyate nupakarine deshe kale cha patre cha taddanam sattvikam smritam. Charity dhan done with a sense of duty or responsibility to a qualified recipient, an appropriate time and place, and without expectation of reciprocation from the recipient is considered sāttvika. Next. Yattu pratyupakarartham phalamudishya va punaha diyate cha pariklishtam taddanam rājasam smritam. Yattu pratyupakarartham, that which is done with the expectation of something in return. Pratyupakara. Okay, so today I'm giving him dhan, but definitely tomorrow at an appropriate time, when I require his help, he will give me something. Keeping that in mind, you select the person. Because if you think that somebody is incapable of giving something in return, then you will not give him dhan if you have this thinking. Because what's the use? So in Rajasic thinking, the person you give to will also be decided by your assessment of whether that person has the potential to give you something in return in future. Okay, so selectively you will give dhan with the expectation that sometime in the future, you may not ask for it, but it's there in the mind that he will give. And with that expectation, you will give, and that person also understands it. Yattu pratyupakarartham phalamudishya. Phalamudishya is dhan given with the thinking, not that I will get something from that person, but I'll get punya. Because I'm getting punya, I'm doing it. Okay, because I want to go to Swargaloka, I want to do this, I want to get a big house, or I want to find a spouse, a good partner. So if I give dhan to a lot of brahmanas, that will help me. It will give me the punya. So keeping that thought of punya in mind, one gives. So here, phalam means the punya phalam that is expected, that fruit that is expected. Or you can think otherwise, apart from punya, the person may think of the social recognition, the respect, the what do you call, the praise that other people will give. For example, people give charity to a temple, and then they will expect that the temple authorities, the temple management, will put their name prominently in the temple somewhere. There will be some board of honor, roll of honor, like a board of honor which says all the donees, the people who give donations, their names are put there and how much they gave. So and so gave 3 crores, so and so gave 50 lakhs, so and so gave this. And there'll be some mantra on the top which says, what happens to people who give dhan? They go to Swargaloka. So with the desire that my name will come on that board if I give dhan, phalam uddishya, that is phalam. So phalam may be punya phalam, expecting something in the long-term future, those who have an understanding of punya and papa. But even those who don't have that understanding, people who are giving dhan, a lot of people now, they give expecting that they will get recognition, which is gross recognition in society by doing that. Others will see their name, the name will come in the temple magazine, etc. Diyatecha pariklishtam. So another thinking here is pariklishtam means, oh, I'm losing something, what to do? I have to give now. I have to give. This says this yajna. If I do this yajna, the yajna I'm doing because I want something in return. But now, as a part of this yajna, I have to give this much dhan. How painful it is. So, keeping that pain or feeling that pain in mind. Okay, so that is also called rājasik dhan. Means there is no happiness. Sāttvika dhan is dhan given in happiness. You are parting with something of value, but with great happiness that this is my duty. Okay, Sri Bhagavan will like this. This is how I should be. This is how I ought to be. This is my life. My life is meant for this. So, with that happiness somebody gives without expecting anything in return, without expecting any punya, or without wanting or looking for that punya, etc. Right? So, that is Satvikam. So, here, Pariklishtam, the pain in mind one gives, what to do. I have to give once in a year, I have to give. There is no way out of it. So, I'm giving. So, this kind of dhan is called Rājasam dhan. Yattu pratyupakarartham phalamuddishya va punaha diyate cha pariklishtam taddanam rajasamsmritam. Charity done either with a desire for its fruit or with the expectation of reciprocation from the recipient, with agony or regret for the giver, is considered rājasa. Adeshakale yatdanam appatrebhyascha diyate asatkritam avagyatam tattāmasa Adeshakale means given at an improper place, in an improper place, or at an improper time. Yat danam appatrebhyaha, given to a person who is not worthy of it, who is not qualified. Okay, for example, you may be giving to a brahmana, but the brahmana is not really a brahmana by his quality. He is only a brahmana by his birth. He's born in a brahmana family and he makes a living. He makes a lot of money by going around showing himself as a brahmana, but doesn't live a life of a brahmana. He doesn't perform any austerities, doesn't, you know, do all the brahminical activities that he's supposed to do, as the Shastra says. He himself has no shraddha in the Shastra. He just does something. So such a person, if you give dana, then that becomes tāmasa dana. Or not even a brahmana, but you just do it to just go and give someone who looks like a brahmana or someone who's doing something. You just give dan because it's somewhere it is told, somebody is telling you to give dan, you go and give dan. Okay, abhi ho gaya, kaam ho gaya. Give somebody, and that's called tāmasa dana, without any knowledge of whom to give to. Asatkritam means it's given not just with the pain in the mind that I'm giving, but no respect or honor is given to the person to whom you are giving the dan. Okay, take it, go, don't disturb me anymore, take it, go. With that kind of anger, avagyatam, with insult. So no honor, no honor. Normally, when we give dan to a brahmana or something, we bow down to them, we touch their feet, and then we give dan. We worship them, right? We worship our guru. So to guru we give dan because we see our guru as a very qualified person. He's giving us knowledge. He's giving knowledge to everybody. He's opening the eyes of so many people. Okay, he's a highly qualified recipient. So we worship the guru. We give him full honor, and then we give dan with a lot of happiness. But here, dan is given to somebody who is not qualified, or given to a person who may be qualified but with anger. You know, what the hell is this? I have to do this damn thing. You know, you curse in your mind and give. Sometimes you may curse outside also. Okay, take it and go. Don't disturb me anymore. I've given you what you want. Just go. Okay, avagyatam, with insult. So that kind of dan is tāmasa dan. Tāmasam, it's called tāmasic dan. Adeshakale yatdanam appatrebhyascha diyate asatkritam avagyatam tattāmasa. Charity given to an unworthy recipient without consideration of time and place, which is done without following the correct procedures of preparation and purification, or done with disrespect or insult, is considered tamas. So these are the three types of dan. So you can see naturally that sāttvika dan is the one that is beneficial. That's something that ought to be done, and it's what elevates the consciousness. But rājasa dan and tāmasa dan are not to be done. It's not, dan is not supposed to be done in that manner. So this completes the 4 types of activities. Of this, the first activity, eating food, is something that is common to everybody. Okay, people of all, whether they are Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Varniya, everybody has food, and that applies to everyone. Now here, yajna, tapas, dan, etc. These things are not prescribed by Shastra for everybody. Brahmanas do yajna, others do yajna through a Brahmana, etc. And there could be avarniyas for whom yajna is not prescribed. They do their normal activities, their duties. So these are prescribed according to their varna in different ways, and they are meant to be done like. So now going forward, Sri Bhagavan says, Om Tatsaditi Nirdesho Brahmanas Smritah Brahmanastena Vedascha Yajnascha Vihitah Pura. So here he begins by now telling that he is the basis for everything. He says he is known by three names. Okay, Om Tat Sat. Okay, so we hear these words Om Tat Sat. When, for example, if somebody chants the Veda, they end it. They end the chant by saying Hari Om Tat Sat. Okay, so Om, Tat, and Sat, these three words, what do these mean? These are actually three different labels for Bhagavan, for Brahma. So Bhagavan in the Bhagavatam is described, Bhagavan is also known as Paramatma, Brahma. So Brahma is one of his names, Brahmanaha, it says here. One of the names of Bhagavan is also Brahma. So that Brahma is also known by these three labels, Om, Tat, and Sat. So these three words, Om, Tat, and Sat, refer to Brahma. So Om Tat Sat iti Nirdeshaha. Nirdeshaha means a label or an indication, indicator, okay, of Brahma. Trividaha Smritaha, three types of labels or three labels. Brahmanastena Vedascha, the Brahmana, the Vedas and the Yajnas. These were created by him, or these were manifested by him, Vihitaha Pura, in the past. In the past, these Brahmanas, the Vedas, and the Yajnas, these are the ones which actually are the basis for dharmic living. Okay, so these were all, dharma comes from him. That's what it says. Essentially, all dharma comes from Sri Bhagavan. That's what the shloka is telling us. Om, Tat, and Sat are described as three names of Brahman, the Supreme Being. The Brahmanas, the Vedas, and the Yajnas were manifested by him earlier. Tasmad Omityudahritya Yajnadana Tapakriyaha Pravartante Vidhanoktaha Satatam Brahmavadinam. Therefore, Tasmat, therefore, Om iti udahritya, therefore, chanting Om, Yajna, Dana, Tapakriyaha, the activities of Yajna, the activities of Dana, and the activities of Tapas. They all begin, Pravartante, they all begin with the chanting of Om. Om is chanted before you start a Yajna, before you give a Dan, or before you even begin any kind of Tapas. First, Om is chanted, and maybe some mantras are chanted after that, and then that activity starts. Vidhanoktaha, according to Shastra. They are meant to be done according to Shastra. Satatam, always, by the Brahmavadis. Brahmavadis, people who worship Sri Bhagavan as Brahma. So, who worships Bhagavan as Brahma? Those who understand him like that. So, when people understand him as Brahma, they refer to him as Brahma. They think of him as an entity with pure consciousness, an entity which doesn't have any form, which doesn't have any name, which is just completely undifferentiated. There's nothing, there's no variation in that entity. And I belong to that Brahma. I'm a part of that Brahma. And they worship that supreme entity, all encompassing universal being. There's one all encompassing universal being known as Brahma. Okay, so people who understand Bhagavan in that manner refer to him as Brahma, and they are called Brahmavadis or Brahmagyanis. And so people who are like that, they perform Yajna Dana Kriya by first chanting Om, and then they do these activities. Hence, those who understand the Supreme Being as Brahman conduct the activities of Yajna, worship, charity, Dana, and austerity, tapas, as described in the Shastra after uttering Om. Tadityanabhisandhaya phalam yajnatapakriyaha dana kriyascha vividaha kriyante mokshakangshibihi. So he's talking now not only about people who worship him as Brahma, but about people who worship him as Brahma and also aspire for moksha as the goal of life. Okay, they are not interested in dharma, artha, kama. They are interested in moksha. Means they want to end their material existence and realize their own spiritual nature as a part of Brahma. So such people are called mokshakamshis or mokshakamshinaha. So such people, what do? They utter tat. So tat is a word used in the Veda, in the Shastra, or even in Bhagavatam, in the Puranas to refer to Bhagavan. Tat. Tat literally means that. So here it means that entity. That entity, Brahma. Tat iti uktva anabhisandhaya phalam means without expectation of a return. Phalam means fruit, like punya phalam. without expectation of anything in return. They perform yajna, tapas, and kriya. So people who want moksha don't want punya. They specifically say we don't want punya because punya means you have to take birth again. You have to be born again to experience that punya, right? So punya keeps you in this material existence. So moksha kamshis, those who want moksha, don't want punya. So they say no, no to punya. They reject it. Just like they reject papa, they also reject punya. Yajna, tapa, kriya. So these three activities, yajna, tapas, and kriya, they utter tat, and they refer to Brahman as tat, and then they do this. Dana kriyascha vividaha, and kriyante moksha kamshibhi. Those intent upon moksha, liberation, conduct various activities of worship, charity, and austerity after uttering tat, while not seeking the fruits of these activities. Sadbhave sadhubhave cha sadityetat prayujyate prashaste karmani tata satchabdah partha yujyate. So now in these two shlokas, 26 and 27, he's talking about the third word, sat. Om tat sat. We talked about om and tat. Now the word sat has got a broader application. It's used in many ways. The first way it's used is sat refers to Bhagavan. Sadbhave means while referring to that supreme being, Bhagavan, we refer to him as Sat, Sat Purusha, Bhagavan. Sadhu Bhavecha, we use the word Sat to refer to a saintly person. Sat Purusha not only refers to Sri Bhagavan, but also a saintly person. Sadhu Bhavecha. Similarly, Sat ityetat prayujyate. So Sadbhave, Sadhu Bhavecha, Sad ityetat prayujyate. Prashaste karmani tatha. Prashasta karma. Prashasta karma means activities which are praised, activities which are good, those which are considered ethically correct and which are praised by others, saintly activities, activities done by saintly people, the good activities. Prashasta karma. Prashaste karmani tatha. So such activities are also called sat karma. Sat karma means activities which are glorified, which are good, which ought to be done. Activities like dana, tapasya, yajna, and so on. They are activities which ought to be done. So such activities also are referred to as sat. Or any of the other activities which we studied under daivi sampat. Activity of daya, kindness to somebody, an activity of forgiving someone, tolerating difficult times, any kind of activity which is good, rescuing somebody, helping somebody, all those activity, prashasta karma, is called sat activity. O Partha, the word sat is used while referring to the supreme eternal being as well as to a saintly person. Similarly, it's also used to refer to numerous beneficial activities prescribed in Shastra. Yajne tapasi dane cha sthiti saditi uchyate saditi chocyate. Yajne tapasi dane cha sthiti saditi chocyate. Karma chaiva tadarthiyam sadityeva abhidhiyate. So the orientation, sthitihi means the situation or the proclivity, the tendency, the orientation towards yajna tapas dana. That is also called sat. A person who has that orientation has got a sat orientation, a sat sthiti. That sthiti is called sat sthiti. Karma chaiva tadarthiyam. Tadarthiyam means tat we just studied refers to Bhagavan. So tadarthiya karma, karma activity done for him, done for his pleasure. Bhagavat seva, seva done to him. That is also sat activity. So karma chaiva tadarthiyam sadityeva abhidhiyate. So further, the orientation towards the activities of worship, yajna, charity, dana, and austerity tapas is described as sat, and the activities done in the service of the Supreme Being are also known as sat. Finally, he concludes the 17th chapter in this manner. He says, Ashaddaya hutam dattam tapastaptam kritan chayat asad ityuchyate partha nachatat pretya no iha. So Ashaddaya Dattam, Ashaddaya Hutam. So now he is referring to all the activities done not in Sāttviki Shraddha. Ashaddha means without Shraddha which is supposed to be held. Shastriya Shraddha. So the Shraddha that he wants us to have, at the end of the 16th chapter, he said, everything should be done in accordance with the Shastra. He said, Tasmat Shastram Pramanam te Karya Vyavasthitau Gyatva Shastra Vidhanoptam Karma Kartum Iharpasi. So Shraddha means Shastriya Shraddha. So everything otherwise, other than Shastriya Shraddha, especially Shraddha which is Rajasi and Tamasi. If it is Sāttviki Shraddha, then also it's somewhat okay because you're then aligned to the Shastra in some way. Although it didn't come from the Shastra, your tendencies are aligned to the Shastra and you may develop Shastriya Shraddha because of contact with a saintly person or a person who's studying the Shastra. But Rajasi and Tamasi Shraddha definitely are not Shastriya Shraddha and they are not beneficial. So they are called Ashraddha. Ashraddhaya Hutam. So activities of yajna, activities of dana, activities of tapasya done with Rajasi and Tamasi Shraddha, he says, Asat ityuchyate partha. They are called Asat. And nacha tat pretya na iha. They don't give benefit either in the future life or even in this life. So even in this life, they may give some return immediately in the short term, but they don't give any long-term benefit. They are no good. So don't do that. Don't do any activity which is ashastriya. Do activity, develop shastriya shraddha and do everything with shastriya shraddha. O Partha, worship, yajna, charity, dana, austerity, tapas, as well as all other activities done without shraddha are said to be asat. They are beneficial neither in this life nor in a future one. So here shraddha refers to sāttviki shraddha, shastriya shraddha, shraddha based in the shastra. Without shraddha means without shastriya shraddha. So with these words, he concludes the 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. 17th chapter is based on Shraddha, is all about Shraddha. And essentially it is saying that please develop Shastriya Shraddha, study the Shastra, understand it, or at least follow the instructions of a person who is aligned to the Shastra, who knows what the Shastra says. And therefore, and doing that, you will be benefited. You will have a proper direction. So what is Shastra? To put it in simple words, Shastra is like a manual. Manual for what? Manual for Dharma. So why should we practice dharma? What is the meaning of dharma? So we have said this earlier. Dharma is defined in the Mahabharata as dharanat dharma ityahuhu, dharmena vidhritav prajaha, or dharma dharayate prajaha, yatsat dharana sanyuktaha sadharma iti katyate. Dharma is that which sustains. Dharma is based in the Shastra. And dharma gives sustenance to us. It gives us long-term happiness. It takes us to our ultimate benefit. So to understand this better, let's think of an analogy. Okay, there's a very useful analogy here. Imagine a fish. A fish lives in water. Now, the water is a place where the fish can do different types of activities. The fish is born in water, it grows in water, it does everything in water, and it dies in water. Now, let's imagine, hypothetically, a fish which has been living in water all its life, and it's observing, it's an intelligent fish. So it observes that all other types of creatures other than fishes, they seem to be living not in water. They live on land. Human beings come to the side of this lake every day and they're doing so many things. I can see them playing. I can see them living in a house. They are cooking. They're having fun. They come in cars. They camp here. I can see all this. Similarly, I see so many other animals. I see deer. I see lions. I see elephants. They all come here to my lake. They do so many, they seem to be having a lot of fun. But I'm living in this water. I don't have access to any of that fun. I'm just moving around in this water and I'm not happy with this. I should explore. Okay, just like we say, human beings say we should go to Mars, we should go to the moon, right? We should explore. So let me go to the land and see. These people live on the land. All these creatures live on the land. They climb trees, they fly in the sky. Let me also do that. Let me experience life. So that fish, it's an entrepreneur, so it gets out of water. Okay? It jumps out and it's on the land. And now you can imagine what happens. It's on the land, it can feel the land, and it's making plans about what to do next. But in just about half a minute, the fish finds that it's not able to breathe properly. Its breathing becomes more and more heavy. And in another few moments, the fish's body starts twitching. It finds itself involuntarily being thrown up and down as if something is moving it up and down. Its body is twitching so badly that it's just going up and down. It's falling here, it's falling there, and it's just not able to breathe. And now the fish sees that the world seems to be becoming dark. It's losing consciousness. It's about to black out. At that time, out of desperation and instinctively, the fish just jumps back to water. It just jumps back. And the moment it falls into water and goes below, its consciousness comes back. Its breathing becomes normal. And in the next half minute, the fish is moving about smoothly in water. So the people like us who reject dharma, if we reject dharma, then we are just like that fish who is going on the land, who wants to experience a world which other things are doing, other creatures are doing. Okay, the animals, they don't have dharma in them. They're not expected to follow. Those jivatmas, they are in a birth where dharma is inaccessible. It's in human birth that we have the ability to understand and discriminate between dharma and adharma. In the animal birth, we cannot do that. That's why it is said the human birth is a very special birth. But as human beings, if we don't do dharma, we are like that fish who wants to be like the other animals. And that is why suffering happens. All suffering happens because of rejection of dharma, because of not understanding dharma and rejecting it and living whimsically, living under the influence of rajas and tamas, rejecting the shastra. So shastra brings us to dharma. That is why shastra is so important. It tells us how to live like a fish in water. It may seem to restrict us, just like the fish thought that it was being restricted by the water to all the freedom that the other animals seem to be having. But actually, it's not restricting us. Dharma is showing us the channel, the path to ultimate happiness. That is the path to freedom. Real freedom comes by following dharma. What seems to be restricting us is actually taking us to our eternal freedom, our permanent freedom. And within a short time, a person who takes up dharma, within a very short time, starts feeling that happiness coming from within. That is what is real happiness. Real happiness is happiness that is inside of us. It is not the happiness that's available through our senses, which exists externally. It is not the happiness that comes through eating great food or watching great sights. Of course, those things do give us happiness, that's sense based happiness, and we acknowledge that. It's not that that is not happiness, but that is not our true, genuine happiness. That is not the long term happiness that we should be looking for. That long term happiness, which is permanent with us, is inside us. And if we discover that, then even the sense based happiness will look even better. And we will be able to see the difference between that and this and take pleasure in that. That is why Sri Bhagavan says that those intelligent people, he says, Yehi samsparshada bhogaha dukkha yonaya evate adyantavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. The intelligent people who know this difference, they don't pursue, they don't chase sense based happiness. They look for the happiness inside because they understand that sense based happiness has a beginning and an end. Adyantavantaha. They have an adi and they have an anta, beginning and an end. But inner happiness, the deep, genuine inner happiness, is happiness that is permanent. So the intelligent people don't take ultimate pleasure in sense based happiness. When it comes, they experience it and they acknowledge it, but they don't think that is permanent. And if it's missing, they don't regret it. If sense based happiness is absent, for example, when they are fasting, uh, there's no sense based happiness, but there's no pain in that. There's pleasure in thinking that I'm actually freeing myself. I'm getting freed, and tomorrow I'll feel even better than I'm feeling today. Okay, that is dharma. Dharma teaches us to look for that ultimate happiness. In Kali Yuga, it may not be possible to do the elaborate yajnas, tapasyas, etc., which people in the other yugas did. This is Kali Yuga. That is why in Kali Yuga, the Yuga Dharma that is given is the Dharma of Bhakti. Bhakti Dharma is Dharma that is much easier to follow than so many other paths of Dharma. In Bhakti, one takes Sharanagati of Bhagavan. One understands one's identity as, they say, Jivera Nitya Swarup is Krishna Nitya Das, Nitya Krishna Das. Jivera Swarupa hai Nitya Krishna Das. So understanding ourselves as an eternal fragment, as an eternal das, as a servant, as a servitor of Bhagavan, we live our life and practice the path of bhakti. The most basic practice of bhakti is to do japa of his names, Harinama japa. And that dharma, the dharma of doing japa, alone is enough to replace or to substitute for all other forms of dharma. If that dharma is followed perfectly, everything else falls into place and the discovery of internal happiness happens. So, with these words, I will stop today's class and I will look forward to your questions, comments, etc. I sincerely hope that my audio was clear.
Namaskar, sir. This
Yes,
is Sarthak.
namaskar, Sarthak. Sarthak, namaskar. Yes.
Yes, sir, just out of curiosity, I wanted to ask that in today's session we talked about dana, and you said that
Yeah.
a qualified recipient is someone whom dan ought to be given. So
Yeah.
there are, as you said, there are learned brahmanas who are following
Yeah.
the scriptures.
Hmm.
So I just wanted to know that there can be such instances wherein these qualified recipients are
Yeah.
not themselves very well off materialistically. So what is
Yes.
the dana that they do? So is the dana in form of the duty that they perform, as in the yajnas that they perform, or the knowledge that they impart to the society? So what is the dana
Yeah.
that an austere brahmana would do?
Yeah. A person like that would do dhan through the knowledge they give to others. That is done for them. So different ways in which dhan is done. Dhan is done with what you have with you. Dhan, basically, the concept of dhan is what? It's a concept of parting with something happily, something that's of value to you, something that is of a lot of value to you, an object of value, some object that is very dear to you. Okay, that is very dear to you. That when you part with it with happiness to somebody who is qualified, and qualified also means that you know that person will use that thing properly, use that thing the way it's meant to be used. For example, go dan. You're giving a guy a go to another person who you know will take care of her, just like a mother ought to be taken care of, who will worship her like a mother and take care of her properly. It's called Godan. Godan is one of the greatest types of dan. Similarly, during marriage, the father of the girl gives kanyadan. He gives the girl to the bridegroom because he knows that this bridegroom is qualified. He will take care of my daughter. The daughter is of extreme value to the father, right? To any father. The daughter is very dear, more dear than the sons also. So the daughter is given in dan. That's considered marriage. Giving the father gives the girl to the boy. He's giving dan, kanyadan. It's called. So each of the and kanyadan is also considered one of the greatest dan. So a person having a daughter is blessed by that opportunity to do kanyadan when the daughter grows up when she reaches the right age. So in the same way, so whatever, if a person doesn't have anything, if he doesn't have a daughter, doesn't have guy, doesn't have anything, money also, all he has is knowledge of the Shastra and minimum things like Sudama lived like that, right? So what did Sudama do? And Sudama went to Krishna uh, and his wife said, okay, out of desperation, she said, so Sudama story, I mean, just to recollect that since it came to mind now, it's a beautiful story where they're living. Kuchela is called Kuchela because he doesn't have any proper clothes. A person who doesn't have proper clothes to wear, his name Kuchela comes from there, right? Xylem means the garment which wraps the body. And his wife is also called Kuchela. Kuchela, Kuchela. So they're living like that. And they both are content, fully happy. They don't have any regret that they are poor, nothing. They don't have any regret. They're living very happily. But his wife, her only pain is that my husband should not suffer like this because her husband is so dear to her. When she sees her husband living such a, what do you call, such a simple and austere life, she feels pain. And she knows that Krishna, who is a close friend of her husband, is so rich. He is living in Dwarka and he's got so much wealth in him. He's the prince of Dwarka. So she tells him that, I can't see you like this. At least for my sake, please go and ask him to give us something. But he doesn't want to do that. He says, no, I'll be very happy to see him, but I don't want to ask him anything. I can't ask anybody anything, right? That is a Brahmana's quality. Never ask anything. And even if somebody gives, you say, no, I don't want. So that is contentment. So he goes, and while going, they realize that when we go to somebody's house, we have to go with something. Don't have anything to take. What do I go with? So somehow they manage to arrange something, a few grains of something. And they take that. So we know what happened. Goes there, Krishna receives him with so much honor that he doesn't know how to reciprocate. He says, I've come here. This person is so exalted. I mean, he's Bhagavan himself and he's so much opulent. He's got everything in him. He deserves to have it. I have nothing and he's giving me so much honor. So Krishna and Rukmini, they worship him, they wash his feet. He's totally embarrassed, thoroughly embarrassed, doesn't know how to, what to do, what to say. And then they spend the whole night talking about their alumni of the same. Just like if you meet your fellow alumnus, how will you talk? You'll recollect all those mischievous things you did, all the fun you had. So they discuss, they have an alumni get together. So have good fun. The whole night passes like that. And now it's time for him to leave. So what have you brought for me? He doesn't know what to say. So Rukmini and Krishna, says, I know what you have brought. Eats it with a lot of happiness. Dan happens there. You see how, Dan happens. Then he has to leave, leaves with a lot of pain. And in that pain, he doesn't want to ask anything. He doesn't want to say, I came here because my wife wanted me to ask you for something in return. Doesn't ask, he just goes back. Krishna being Bhagavan, he knows everything. He knows why this person came here. So he says, so exactly the way Sudama thought about Krishna, Krishna thinks about Sudama in the same way. He says, what a great personality this is. I'm blessed to have a friend like him. He says, his wife sent him here to ask me something, but his quality is so high. It's a great quality that he doesn't want to ask me, even though he's so poor. So Krishna says, I will give him something that is far greater than what even Indra has in Swargalok. Even Indra will not have this kind of richness. I'm going to give this fellow something greater than that. Then we know what happened. He goes back, he can't recognize that place. So this is Dan with the mentality of Sudama, right? So even if you don't have anything, you can still do Dan, like Sudama did. What a story that is. I mean, that story is unbeatable.
Yes, sir.
Bhagavatam, and the way in which Bhagavatam tells this story, Vyasdevji tells in the Bhagavatam, I don't think any other place it's described in such beauty. The use of adjectives, the phrases, the expressions in that story there, the way he narrates it. Beautiful.
So thank you for resharing this story.
Yeah. We don't get tired of hearing it again and again, right? In every class,
Definitely.
we can say it a few times.
Sir, I would just like to highlight one point that you had narrated earlier
Yeah.
within the story. That
Yeah.
at the time when Sudama was about to offer what he had with him, he was a lot of hesitant. He did not want that. He thought that okay, this is a very paltry thing to offer to Sri Bhagwan. And
Yeah.
you said that this is what Sri Bhagwan's mentality was also when he offered Sudama his new mansion and all these new riches. So even Sri Bhagwan felt that this is not enough that I am doing for my bhakta.
Yes. Exactly. 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 So that is the love between a Bhagavan and a Bhakta. Both of them feel that they are not doing enough for the other person. They are not doing enough seva. That's it. Because seva bhav comes from where? Seva bhav is the bhav of making the other person happy. And a person with genuine seva bhav always feels that I am not doing enough. I've done whatever I could do, but still it's not enough. That person deserves much more than this. A bhakta feels like that towards Bhagavan, and Bhagavan in turn feels like that towards that bhakta who feels that way. So it's mutual, and the seva bhav comes from Bhagavan. He's the origin of that. It's not the bhakta who is the origin. The bhakta just develops that seva bhav which comes from Bhagavan through his contact with Bhagavan. So it's mutual. That is bhakti. So Jayashree wants to say something. You raised your hand.
Yes, regarding this dan, I just wanted to share something. Dan, they say that it can be given yatha shakti and yatha yogyam. These two have to be kept in mind all the time. That is, we have to give dan according to our capacity, not out of our capacity, like borrowing and giving. That is not prescribed. Like in the Padma Puran, if you read the Shraddha Prakriya, it is given very elaborately. There, it is said that a person, for every person, Shraddha Kriya is a must, because that is the simplest of the puja that a person can do. It doesn't require much preparation. It can be done in a very, very simple way. And the most basic thing there is to give food to the annadanam, to the brahmanas. So if we don't, what if, so there are, it's the whole prakriya is like question answers. So the question is, what if we don't find the suitable brahmanas? Then they say that, okay, if you don't have brahmanas, then find somebody who is eligible to have food, little less than them. Find them and give them. Okay, if you cannot afford to feed the brahmanas, then go and offer food to the go. Okay, so if go is not available, if we don't find a go, then what do I do? Then at least mentally you offer food to the brahmanas or to the go. So it's simplified that way. So dhanam is more of a mental activity than some material activity. So it's not quantified by how much material I give to somebody. It is more of a mental process. And one word about kanyadanam is, although the father does kanyadanam, his responsibility doesn't end after the kanyadanam, unlike other dhanams. In other dhanams, once the dana is given, it's over. The person cannot have authority, or the person cannot take the material back. But kanyadanam is different. There, the father has to find a suitable groom or suitable person who will take care of the girl. Otherwise, whatever pain the girl undergoes, the father will get that much papa. That much bad karma will accumulate in his life. So it's a big, big responsibility. And even after giving dhanam, if the girl, due to some misfortune, the girl is, becomes a widow or something, the father can take back the girl. He can take care of the girl and things like that. So kanyadanam is very different than all other dhanams. So that I just wanted to add that point here, so that we don't normalize all dhanams.
Yes, thank you for sharing.
Nice inputs. Nice, yeah. Good. Next, who has questions? Anyone?
Sir, I had one more question.
Yeah, Sarthak, yeah.
Sir, so you said that in the Kali Yuga dharma, in multiple sessions, you have said that the
Yeah,
dharma is bhakti, and one of the easy ways is doing japa or
yes,
the Bhagavata Katha Shravana. So,
yes.
sir, I understand that doing the japa is a form of meditation and enhances our purity. And even listening to the Bhagavad Katha, it brings a lot of joy to us. But I have also seen that you use the word seva, that nama seva, or listening to the katha is also a seva. So how is it a seva to Sri Bhagwan?
Seva is anything which gives pleasure to the recipient of the seva. Everything is done as seva with the intention to give pleasure to him. Anukulyena Krishna Anushilanam. Pleasure means it makes him feel good. Unko acha lagta hai. For example, he sees that this Jivatma is now doing japa. He is trying to devote his mind and consciousness to me. Thereby he is benefiting, he is going out of his samsara, he is coming out of samsara and he is benefiting from it. When Bhagavan sees that, he feels good. Unko acha lagta hai, he feels good. This is the right thing to do. He is intelligent. So it becomes seva. Anything that makes Bhagavan feel good about, okay, which is in alignment with dharma and which he feels good about, is called seva. And
So,
it's done with the intention of making him feel good.
so Shri Bhagavan is not happy for the activity per se, but because that he sees that the devotees or maybe that Jivatma is trying to uplift itself. So seeing
Yes,
that endeavor pleases him. So that is why this is a
yes,
seva.
yes. And because the Shastra says that, the Shastra says that Bhagavat Nam is a way to purify, is the most powerful way to purify. Bhagavan's form, one of his forms is his own Nam. So by doing Nama Japa without aparad, one becomes pure. Once purification happens, one's consciousness gets purified. So when Bhagavan sees that purification happening, that person is giving up their bad mentalities, their bad qualities. He feels good. Of course, the feeling of good in Bhagavan comes from seeing that the person's intention is like that. That Bhakta is doing it with the intention to become pure and become, uh, you know, become genuinely a sevaka, become a genuine sevaka. So when Bhagavan sees that intention, he feels good, and so it becomes seva. It's the genuineness, nishkapatta. So all activities of seva are done like that, are done with the mentality that this will be pleasing to him. They are not done mechanically. It's not like japa, for example, should never be done thinking that, okay, now I have made a commitment. I have made a commitment that every day I will do this much of japa. This many times I will repeat the mantra. Somehow or other, I have to do it. If I don't do it, something will go wrong. So somehow get up with a mind of, with pain in the mind, just go and do it. Somehow get rid of it, get over with it. Check mark, put a check mark. So if it is done like that, it is not seva. There is no seva in that. So seva is done. When it is done, it's done with, when you go to bed the previous night, you go with the anticipation that, okay, I'm going to get up at tomorrow by 4:30 a.m. I'll get up, I'll quickly take a bath, clean myself, wear clean clothes, and then for this much time I will do japa. You look forward to it. Just like how in normal life we look forward to a party or we look forward to some event. Okay, you look forward to your convocation, you look forward to the inauguration, you look forward to things, right? Right? Suppose you know that somebody very dear to you is now coming by evening they will arrive. So you look forward to that. Similarly, we look forward to the japa of the next day after today's japa is over. So you look forward to it and wait for that time, and you start doing japa. So it should be done with that eagerness, with anticipation. Then it becomes seva. And when it is done like that, then you start seeing the sweetness of that. You start feeling that sweetness. You start feeling the effect of that. You can immediately see the effect of that. And it can only be understood when you experience it. It cannot be understood theoretically.
Just like Shri Bhagavan.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
Thank you, sir.
Good. Are there any further questions?
Pranam, sir, Akshat here. Sorry.
Yes, Pranam Akshat. Yes.
Sir, just based on what you just said about the practices like Nam Jap, essentially,
Yeah.
sir. I mean,
Yeah.
I personally thought that it's important to have a discipline in terms of trying to commit to it in the sense that yes, there is some amount of time that has to be spent on it,
Yes.
and therefore one must do it. But
Yes.
as you said, I mean, that should not be the mindset in the sense that. So just getting a little confused here, sir, in that sense.
It's not a mechanical thing. That's what I meant. It is not something. See, for example, okay, let me put it like this. I'll give you an analogy. Let's say there is a cancer patient who's undergoing treatment for cancer. Okay. Now chemotherapy has been prescribed for them. What does chemotherapy involve? It involves multiple sessions with the doctor and the hospital, and in each of those sessions you are injected that those chemicals are injected into your body, and each session your body undergoes a lot of burning sensations, and it's difficult, it's painful, but then you have to undergo it because only then your body becomes purified of the cancer. The body becomes free from cancer. All the cancerous cells are killed by doing that. Even the normal cells are also killed. But that's the process. So you do it with the thinking it's mechanically done. It has to be done. You are prescribed that, otherwise you will not live. You know that you will die, and this can save you. So for this many weeks, maybe 3 months, you have to undergo that training, that treatment. But Nama Japa is not done like that. It is done with pleasure. You do it, you look forward to it. Okay, so you do it with a discipline, like chemotherapy is done with a discipline. So that is common between chemotherapy and Nama Japa. It's done with a discipline, timings are specified, you fix the time, and it has to be done within that time, and so on. And then in a particular manner, in a systematic manner. All that is there. All the disciplinary structural elements are all there. But what is not common between the two is chemotherapy is done with a lot of pain. And you do it because it has to be done without wanting to, and you want to get rid of it. You want to get over with it and be done with it. But Nama Japa is not like that. You do it with the bhav that it should only increase. Let my taste for japa improve. Each time you do japa, you say that, okay, today I didn't do it the best possible way. Tomorrow I'll do it even better. Tomorrow my mind, my bhav will be even better. And let my bhav become better and better. Let me start experiencing the sweetness of it so that I don't want to leave it. Sweetness should be so much in my mind that I should not want to complete it. I should want to go on doing it. So even after you finish the session of doing japa, your committed session, throughout the day in the mind, the naam keeps coming again and again. Okay? That is what I meant. That is the bhav, difference in bhav. Akshat,
Understood,
does it?
sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. It's very clear, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So after the 18 chapters of Bhagavad-Gita are over, now next session we will start the 18th chapter, and then after a few sessions we'll complete the 18th chapter too. So the whole Bhagavad-Gita is over, then we will summarize the Gita. And after that, I will start sessions, that's my plan right now, to start sessions on Bhakti, directly on Bhakti. There we will refer to both Bhagavad-Gita, Bhagavatam, different things, and we'll go through the process of Bhakti. We'll discuss about Nama Japa and other processes of Bhakti in more detail. So that way we are more directly talking about the dharma that we should be doing in the Kali Yuga. The actual practices of Bhakti, the do's and the don'ts, we'll talk about those things more directly. There I'll touch upon this even more in more detail. Okay. So if there are no further questions today, unless anybody has a question, if there are no questions, we close for now. Okay. So please chant the Hare Krishna mantra with me as I chant the Antya Mangalam. Om स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यो शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे धन्यवादाः. Thank you for joining this class. We'll meet again next Sunday. Thank you.